All right, and welcome to Postgame here on the Cyclone Fanatic podcast feed. I'm Chris Williams. Thanks to our friends Centurion Stone of Iowa and also Carl Auto Group for sponsoring the postgame report all season long. I also want to give a shout out to our friends at Fairway Meat and Grocery and our friends at Ames and Des Moines. I was not able to do a halftime show today, and I apologize to that. I was at a little game watch here in Portland and didn't have good enough internet, and I apologize to that. So thank you to Fairway and our friends at Ames and Des Moines Eye Care for supporting us all season long with what we're trying to do here, covering these Cyclones independently at CycloneFanatic.com. All right. Listen, I mean, we all saw the game. 62-14. Like, I don't even think that it's productive at this point for me to come on here and lob haymakers or anything like that. I'm just going to say this, and the only like real positive that the only positive that you can take from this is if you're Matt Campbell now and you're going into this off season. This isn't another one of those games where you're like, oh, well, we only lost by 3, and we're doing something right because we're in all these games, and we just got to make some tweaks. This is, in my opinion, a pretty humbling experience for everybody in that football program today. So, I don't know. I think that if there are going to be a couple things to keep in mind. One, like I had people tweeting at me like, this isn't the Rhodes era. Like, it's nothing like that. You've gone to 6 straight bowl games. But, I mean, clearly there's like a trend here now, specifically with the offense. And I think after a game like today, it's easier to look in the mirror and go, okay, we need to do something. We need to make some changes, and whatever those changes end up being, right? So, yeah, I guess that's really my takeaway from this game. There's not a lot of analysis to give. I've given the special teams as bad analysis. We all know that. We've given the can't run the football analysis. Although they did kind of today, believe it or not. They averaged 5 yards per carry. Didn't matter. But we all know that. We all know about the offensive line issues. None of that changed today. It was heightened today against the best team in the Big 12 Conference when you were completely blown off the field. So you now look to an offseason, and again, I don't know what's going to come. But I think for those of you who are saying, hey, we'd like to see some changes as far as the offensive goes, I think that today is probably a day where I think it's easier for Matt Campbell to look in the mirror and make some changes after you get run off the field like that, because this doesn't happen to Iowa State. I thought Cannell on the TV broadcast was pretty accurate with that. Like, this really doesn't happen to a Matt Campbell team, and it did today, following a pretty rough season in general, and it ends like this. I was really surprised. I was dead wrong. I said all week I thought it would be a lot like the Texas game. That was my kind of prediction. I didn't think Iowa State would win, but I thought it would be a game into the fourth quarter where you kind of just let it all hang. That wasn't the case. You're down 24-0 at the end of the first quarter. I thought the defense looked completely gassed to start the game. Now, they rebounded pretty well. There's a pick six. You miss more field goals. It's just bad football on offense and special teams. And then the defense was just completely just out of gas. I don't think that they were quitting on the offense or anything like that. I saw some of that. No, I think that it's natural where you have been really good. Fox put up that graphic, and we all knew it, but to see it on the TV screen that you're first in these categories defensively and last in the same categories offensively, and it's just like, God, that looks really terrible on there, right? So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at to wrap this thing up. I think that the offseason will be eventful. I think you go heavy into the transfer portal. Roger's asking me, can this be fixed in the next season? Yeah, I think that. I mean, what do you mean by fixed? Do I think Iowa State's going to win 10 games next year? Probably not. Clearly a ways to go. But I think it's possible that they're back in a bowl game next year. Absolutely. Well, let's see, though. You got to make some roster moves. We're going to see what they're going to do with the offense. They have to get better. There's no doubt about that. I don't think this is a deal where you're just like, oh, well, we're going to keep going to war with our guys and keep plugging away and keep sawing wood. No, I think he probably should make some changes. That's clearly the thing. Right. Like, I don't know about the special teams coordinator thing, okay? You'd think that if that was like what Matt thought would fix it, that they would have done that by now. I have no idea. But again, like the special teams thing to me is quite interesting because it's actually hard to comprehend to be as bad as they have been. And it just kept getting worse towards the end of the year. I don't know what to do with the kicker deal. He really, up until recently, wasn't that bad. The Kansas game was bad, obviously. But he had been pretty good. Gets benched last week. The other guy comes in. He's shanking things. So if you can go, you probably should go to the transfer portal and try and find another Andrew Mevis, right? I mean, that's what it looks like to me. You have to. The hard part for Matt, in my opinion, is like last week against Texas Tech. I think he probably, like in his mind, would kick the field goal in those spots when you're down on the goal line, right? They had the bad goal line offensive stands where they couldn't get in the end zone, the frustrating ones. I think Matt would normally be like, no, I'd kick the field goal here, play to my defense. Well, he's so frazzled now because the kickers can't make anything that it's completely screwed up his entire mind process. So that's my point on the kicker. They've got to get one. They can't be this bad at kicker. You just can't. It's just as bad mentally, I think, for the play callers and stuff as not being able to run the football. So, yeah, I don't know, guys. I think that if you're looking for a lot of change, you never root for the Cyclones to lose a game in the 62-14 beatdown that they got today. Nobody's ever going to root for that for Iowa State. But if big change is what you want in the offseason as far as movement goes, I think that this game probably pushed it in that direction as opposed to, another close one. We'll see. I don't know, and I'm anxious to find out what happens, just like all of you guys are. Big day tomorrow. Looking forward to a couple of championship games in the Phil Knight Invitational. The women tip off at 6:30. The men tip off at 9. That is all Iowa time. 4:30 and 7 locally here in Portland. I can't wait. We'll wake up and do that tomorrow. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm going to sign off here. I think Bloom and I are going to do a football podcast tomorrow at some point for our show, and then we'll do basketball later in the week. I'm going to be on the call for Learfield tomorrow for the men's game, and then flying all night to get back, so we won't be able to record at our normal time. So that's the programming schedule here. Appreciate all of you enjoying the season with us, and hey, win or lose, we're not going anywhere, baby, with Cyclone Fanatic. We're going to be here, and that's because of you guys. So we appreciate that. Have an awesome rest of your Saturday night.